I'm in Salad and I saw Scooby-Doo in Arabian Nights. It is directed by John Falkenstein. And I didn't quite know what this movie was when I first watched it. I was like, whoa, you're really going to have to know my opinion on this movie later down in the review. So if you haven't seen this movie, I will spoil it for you. The movie starts with Shaggy and Scooby. They got a food tasting gig. You know what that means? They get to eat all the food. What a perfect job for them. I think they are very well suited, especially since they eat all of the food, even though they're trying to test to see if it's poisonous. And luckily, they didn't die. Good on them. But they eat all of the food of the Caliph. And that's no good. He wants them dead, but you know what Shaggy does? His big brain is like, hello, I know this Caliph wants a wife. I'm gonna hide against all of these maidens, and then I'm going to propose that I am a maiden. Actually, no, he doesn't do this. What instead happens is the Caliph is like, oh, I love you. Oh my goodness gracious, you look so adorable, Shaggy. Even though he doesn't know it's Shaggy. So Shaggy's like, alright, well, I guess I'm your maiden now. Caliph wants a couple of stories. I'll give him a couple of stories. And then from here, it really takes a turn. It's not Scooby-Doo. It's a bunch of stories. It's two stories for this entire movie. The first story is this prince has to meet a wife. And he sees a woman that he immediately falls in love with. She loses her scarf. But she's poor, so I wouldn't say that she's good for him. I mean, technically, if royally, but he really has his heart set out on her. And I'm like, you go get her. Go get her. And also you have the vizier, Haban. Yeah, his name is Haban. He's like, I'm going to make sure to make the sultan go to sleep, which is essentially a king. But we're in Arabia, so it's a little bit different. And I'm just like, whoa, you're gonna make the sultan go to sleep? Wow, don't do that, that's mean. But you know what he does? He does that anyway. Gets him to go to sleep, and also has the prince go to sleep, and he transforms himself into the prince. And I was not really expecting this part. I was like, wait, what? He can turn into things? Okay, alright, this is Scooby-Doo, but wow, I want this ability. Give me that ability, please, Vizier. And the Vizier is now choosing a maiden in replacement for the good old pal, Prince. You want to know how he transforms? Actually, that I do remember? There's a genie underground that only opens because of a full moon, just kind of like shines the hidden passage. And only a pure heart must go down. And so this princess that the prince has his eyes on, that actually isn't a princess, her name is Aliadin. Aliadin, what a cool name. That's definitely different. You get it? I made a joke there. And she has to go in, and then bam, the place gets locked up behind her, and she rubs the genie, and guess who's there? Yogi Bear. And Yogi Bear is a genie alongside his genie in training Boo Boo, and they're hilarious. Pretty much the entire time Yogi Bear is like, I really want some food. Could you wish me a feast? And I'm like, how long has he gone without eating? Like, holy diggity dang. Wow, that sounds awful. My first wish would be all the food in the world. And I would promise Yogi Bear some, because I'm such a nice and kind person. Totally not at all very fat like Yogi Bear. And I'm just also thinking that she uses the wishes to get out of the place, which is nice. I like how these genies aren't trying to like spin whatever you're saying to something very literal. They just do what you ask and do what you mean, which is nice. She asks to be a princess. In order to be in line for the princess, brides, hey, brides, come here. You gotta marry my son, says the sultan. And they have a bunch of brides, including Aliadin. And this isn't the prince choosing, But nope. I don't want anyone. I don't want any of y'all. Y'all are unworthy of my love. Then she gets sent down to the dungeon. She helps the prince leave, then helps the prince overtake the vizier through a bunch of hijinks, Scooby-Doo style. And the vizier ultimately loses, and Prince is like, oh my god, I love you so much, ah! And the Sultan is like, you're not allowed to be with her because she's not a princess. And then she's like, oh, actually, hey, Genie, wish me, I want to be a pretty princess again. And then she is, and she also asks for a feast, which Yogi Bear participates, which is good of her. And this is in contrast with the vizier, who is like, I want total world domination, and he wishes for himself to be ruler of the earth, of the entire universe, and he gets super big. And I'm like, how are you breathing in space, dude? Did you also wish for good lungs? Good enough lungs to resist the vacuum of space? And then he wishes for, like, something even bigger. And then, oh, no more third wish for you. Let's take it back to Aaliyah. I want everything to be better. I want everything to be just the way it was. And that's how it is. And that's kind of like how the second story ends. And I felt like I was at a point where I was like, oh, I must not be watching Scooby-Doo anymore. What is this? And then bam, back to Scooby-Doo. What are Scooby-Doo and Shaggy doing? Well, Shag is like, well, here's my story. Well, I'm gonna tell him another story just so he might look away and I might get a chance to escape. And then the second story is, it's about like these two people trying to steal an egg, and there's a whole lot of hijinks, which includes a lot of, demeaning and dumbness. Demeaning and dumbness. This is a common thread that I've definitely noticed with a lot of Scooby-Doo movies, is the villain, the bad guy, the guy you're not supposed to like, is very demeaning and very dumb. Or they have an assistant that is very dumb, and so they get everything that is they want to be done towards them. So it's a fun dynamic. They even steal a whole egg from what seems to be a phoenix. And then bam, let's actually get rid of the bad guy. He wants the egg, no egg for him. Let's hatch the good old egg. Oh, egg is now hatched, and looks like Mama Bird has come to retrieve the lovely egg chickling. And that's all I remember from that one, because it's honestly, the second story is a lot of, well, they went to this place and they fought a little bit, and then it's a whole journey to get this egg, and then once they get the egg, the bad guy eventually loses, and it's really sad, mostly for the mother of the bird. I think everybody got what they deserved, and that's the second story of Scooby-Doo. And how Shaggy ends the story is like, I'm gonna put the guy to sleep, and he tries to escape, and they're pretty much banished, because that's no good. I forgot to mention with the last story, there's a gorilla. There's a gorilla on his pirate ship? How does that work? Well, the gorilla is, a gorilla. He's gorillaing about, and he's also luckily taken back to where he's supposed to go. And also the story ends with a big old wedding cake. Big wedding cake time. Hey, we're gonna hide in the wedding cake, says Shaggy and Scooby. And guess what happens? The chef tattles on them. Then they are in a wedding cake about it. And before killed, you know what happens? We're gonna make you the royal storytellers because you did such a good job. And then they become the royal storytellers and they eat the cake. And to my knowledge, that is the end of the movie, because I don't see them leaving at all. So I assume that they're in Arabia now, enjoying a lot of cake. Honestly, this is a weird Scooby-Doo for me. This is not like the other movies, like a traditional, they go to a place, they meet a bunch of monsters, they find out a mystery, and then they leave. This is just like a bunch of stories. I personally didn't quite like this structure. I enjoyed the first story more than the second story, because I feel like the first story kind of had more of an arc there. There was like romance, there was stakes, and there was a whole arc of like overcoming all this stuff that he has to overcome, and then bam, guess what happens once he's saved from the prison? Then he takes back his throne. He takes back what is rightfully his and helps out his dad, who is actually leading the country, not him. But it was a fun story. I enjoyed listening to it. The second story, not so much. It was definitely, as I mentioned before, a lot less structured. But I did enjoy the art style. The art style is definitely different from the 80s movies and different from this movie is definitely different from the 80s movies in terms of art styles, and also different from Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, which is after this. This is right in 94. So I really like their more bouncy animation. Their faces are like kind of more trapezoidal, which is fun. And they have like weird chins. They have weird broad chins. I like that art style. And I also find Scooby-Doo to be adorably cute in this. And if I were to give this movie a solid rating, I would rate it a solid 5 out of 10. Because honestly, the stories didn't really capture me that much. And I did find myself looking at the time code for a lot of it. Like, is this story Scooby-Doo? When does the mystery gang come in? Let me spoil that for you right now. They do not. And this is a 5 out of 10 for that reason. If you liked this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. The ultimate goal of this channel is for me to become an expert movie reviewer. And if I haven't reviewed it on the channel, there's a chance I haven't even seen it at all. So request a movie in the comments below. Or you can fast track the request at patreon.com/ASCpresents for $20 a month for one movie review per 1 month. Or $3 a month for some daily vlogs, all at patreon.com/ASCpresents. And if you want to help support the daily grindiness, go to this link tree for some daily sets, for some NSFW content. It really helps with all the grindiness, all the daily and grindiness. Keep on going. So, go to this link tree right here. And until next time, I'm Mint Salad Sauce. See you later, my salad croutons and bacon bits.